just want to dissect Patrick Bateman. For a long time, I let the crappy parts of the fandom, make me put this in the same corner I had Fight Club in, where, a lot of, really gross white guys were kind of, really into those movies. So I was like, y'all can just stay over there. But recently, I gave it a chance. And I honestly see why so many people adore this movie, think it's an amazing psychological thriller, and honestly, I probably have to put it up there as one of the few movies that did a stream of consciousness narrative really well. But I want to talk about Patrick Bateman, who is our lead character and who is an absolute POS. This man is downright terrible as a human being. But he is meant to be so within the narrative of the story because this whole story is a deconstruction on how the perfect life and the male fantasy might not be all sunshine and roses. Some of the things we know about Patrick Bateman are he is 27 years old, he is a stockbroker, his daddy owns the company, and he has severe untreated mental illness. This is definitely a deconstruction on the hypermasculine 1980s culture that we used to see here in America. Throughout the entire movie, Bateman sees every single man as a competition and every single woman as an object to use, either for societal gain or for sexual pleasures. He almost murders another man for having a better business card than him. One of the most interesting themes of this movie is Patrick not knowing who he is. And the worst part is people around him, even those close to him or supposedly should be close to him, do not know who he is. Mistaken identity is a consistency throughout this movie. People calling Patrick the wrong name and or saying he was at a place when he wasn't and him never correcting them. Him never arguing who he is as a human being. Him even purposefully using wrong names when doing some of his more seedy and heinous acts. This movie truly does love to show that a lot of the upper crust glamour and tightness is actually all superficial. There is a saying that is, it doesn't matter what you know, it matters who you know, and this movie is a perfect example. I find one of the most interesting things is while we'll see Patrick do things he actively dislikes, such as going on dates with his fiancée or talking to his colleagues, we never actually see him do any real work at his office, something that he admitted he adores doing, even telling his fiancée he loves his work, he can't take time off to get married. When we actually see him in his office, the most he does is make scribbles and call for dinner reservations for when he gets off of work. I think one of the most interesting aspects of this movie is we have an antagonist who actively wishes to confess their guilt and the horrible things they have done. However, when he makes these confessions, he is met with confusion because people that could hold him accountable actively do not know who he really is. No one knows who Patrick Bateman is. Not even himself. Yes, this is my favorite part about the American Psycho movie, is discussing what is real and what is fantasy by the main character and main antagonist. So did Patrick Bateman do any of the things in the movie? If you've never seen American Psycho, it's on HBO Max. Go watch it if you're curious, because I'm going to spoil it. But anyway, I've seen a lot of people get really hard line into one of two camps. Either he did everything or he did nothing. And I honestly think the answer lies somewhere in between. There's a pivotal scene in the beginning of the movie where Patrick Bateman goes to a cleaner's to get his sheets cleaned. And at first I thought, oh, this is setting up that this is all imagined because the shop owners, I don't know what they're saying, and I wish there were better subtitles, are arguing with him about, the sheets themselves. However, another character comes in and asks him, what is that stain? To which he makes a lie that, oh, it's cranberry juice. So, I believe this scene is important because it shows that Patrick has done horrendous acts. It just might not be every single act we see on screen. Him violently assaulting the two sex workers he brings to his house, I think absolutely did happen. And I do believe he ended up killing that one blonde sex worker. I also love the detail that the escort that he called for, he doesn't call again, and I honestly believe it's probably because she told her agency she was with, and they made sure to block his ability to get another girl. However, the girl on the street, who he calls Christy, who we don't figure out what her real name is, does not have an agency behind her. It is herself working on the streets, and it is another deconstruction of privilege within society. This movie has a lot to say. And it's even sadder that she admits that after what happened last time, she had to go to the hospital. She might need surgery. And you know what? That scene was super uncomfortable. But I was hoping. I was like, he's a weird guy. He's looking at himself in the mirror while he's doing it. He's recording it with these two girls, but at least they're okay. And then he pulled out the tools, and I was like, God damn it, Patrick! But through his money and wealth and influence, he was able to get her back in the car. I truly do believe he killed that girl. I do not think it happened the way he thought it did, though. I truly do believe he killed a homeless man and killed his dog, and I think that's what started the real break in psychosis for Patrick. Now, towards the end, the scene with the helicopter, the shootout scene with the police, as well as the scene where he shoots the two people at the other stockbroking building, I do not believe happened. However, one of the main things is mistaken identity and how people cannot reconcile the image with a name and do not understand their fellow man despite being in the same clique as them. And I think that even though Patrick confessed and has done some terrible, horrendous things, because so many people see him as something he is not, he will always be able to get away with his crimes, especially since he has money. As he stated, his confession meant nothing because it fell on deaf ears. Yes, I do believe that Patrick Bateman got Paul Allen, and here is my reason why. Also, if you've never seen American Psycho, this is going to contain spoilers, so Patrick Bateman actively sees Paul Allen as a threat within this movie, mostly because he is handling an account that is apparently very prestigious to handle within this company. There's a whole fight about business cards where you see even the pettiest and smallest slights can lead to Patrick being visibly enraged. However, his enragement is definitely more subtle than what most people would probably seem or believe. He'll go from being very placid to all of a sudden being profusely sweating, staring intently. It's wild. Another aspect about this movie is knowing of people, but not really knowing people. And Paul knows of Patrick, however, consistently thinks Patrick is another man named Marcus. Mind you, Patrick points out Marcus, and they do not look similar at all. The most they have is they're white and both wear glasses. But, as shown throughout the film, a lot of these interpersonal connections are incredibly superficial and mostly go off names alone, rumors, and hearsay, and not really what you actively know about a person. Under false pretenses, Patrick, who is just playing along with being Marcus, he never corrects Paul's wrong assumption and wrong name for him, takes Paul out to dinner, to which he then kills Paul at his house while listening Hip to Be Square. I think one of the most terrifying aspects about Patrick Bateman is how you can visibly see him turn into a person. How his cold demeanor when he is alone and his very monotone inner dialogue will suddenly flip when he is trying to entertain and be charismatic. And while it exceptionally falls flat to, anyone watching the movie, within the narrative of the story itself, people are charmed. I likened it to Jim Carrey. It's very overdramatic, overenthusiastic, and if you watch some of the scenes, he kind of sounds like Jim Carrey too, and it's wild. That being said, though, post him killing Paul, he puts him in a bag where actually one of the people in his inner clique asks him where he got the bag from, not even caring about the contents of it, and Patrick dismissively tells him where he purchased the bag. He then goes to Paul's house, leaves a fake voicemail stating he's going to London, packs some things of Paul's in a suitcase, and then just throws it somewhere. Now, a lot of people point to the end of the movie to pretty much exonerate Bateman of doing this murder because the lawyer said that he had lunch with Paul a week ago in London. Completely forgetting that going to London was a lie that Patrick made up to cover his tracks in the murder, and this lawyer is the same man who couldn't even tell that he was directly talking to Patrick Bateman when he was actively talking about Patrick Bateman being a coward and how he's like a little worm man and could never do anything. He actively thinks Patrick Bateman is another human being, so I cannot trust his judgment that he had lunch with Paul in London.